app actually fits. This is someone who has walked the walk, right? And who is going to talk the talk today. Because we decided to get you someone who can relate to everything we are sharing today. Today we'll be having no other person than Mrs. Chimdiebube Orji, someone like I said who is an entrepreneur in every sense of the word. She has walked the walk, she has applied for grants, she has won different grants, and she runs her own businesses. So she is in the perfect position to tell us how to win grants for our business and also give us insider tips, information that works in real life. So everyone, with a clapping ovation or with an emoji ovation, right? You can tap on your favorite emoji. Let us give it up for Mrs. Chimdiebube Orji. Welcome on
Thank you
board,
so
ma.
much. Uh, Thank you so much, Victoria. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome. I see, I see our emojis are really going fire. So that I don't take so much of your time, I will be sharing my screen shortly. Um, Let me know once you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Can anyone hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
I can see your screen.
Okay, okay, you can see my screen. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I am sure that if you attended the conference, you'd likely have seen me um, during the entire planning and execution of the conference. So, my name is Chimdiebube Orji, and apart from working at the Ike-Elechi Foundation, I have had the opportunity to lead a hair care manufacturing company here in Nigeria, and it's the out of my experience and knowledge that I'll be sharing with you. Today's session is recorded so that we'll be uploading it on our YouTube page so that you can go over it from time to time. So this class is going to examine grants, seed funding, how to create a winning application, and a bonus of how to scale your business. So why should you listen to me? Um, I have won quite a number of grants. This is not exhaustive. This hasn't been updated, so it's still showing 2021, but I've won quite a number of grants over the past few years. And so I have figured out the science of winning grants. And I hope that by the end of today's class, you would also have done that. So going into grants and seed funding. Seed funding is an early investment made into a business to generate capital. So seed funding isn't always a grant. It is different. So seed funding is any money that is given to a business owner or invested into a business to generate capital, which means to help the business to kick off. So in some cases, seed funding can be investment where someone is expecting to receive a return. It could also be a fund like a free will, I won't call it a donation, but giving with the aim such that the money is not going to be paid back. So a grant is a fund given by a personal organization for a specific purpose linked to public benefit. Now, common types of seed funding. So remember, I said seed funding isn't always grants. It's different from grants. So seed funding can be your personal saving. So let's say you want to start a business. I remember hearing something around someone who is an interior design expert. So let's say he wants to start an interior design company. He can decide to have seed funding using his personal savings. It could also be crowdfunding, where your family members decide, okay, we want to support you on your journey, and everybody brings money together and gives it to you. That is crowdfunding. It could be a corporate seed fund. So I'm sure we've heard about, oh, this company raised $1 million, $100,000. A corporate seed fund means that several organizations come together to pool capital to provide funds to a startup, its business, an entity like that. We also have accelerators. So accelerators are high intensity programs that people go through where you'll get trained about aspects of business. At the end of the day, sometimes they provide you with capital. So if you go through an accelerator program and they provide you with capital, it's also a type of seed funding. We also have angel investors. Angel investors are usually a lot of times high network individuals who see you and they're like, oh, I like what you're doing. And so I would like to invest in you. A lot of times, angel investors are not interested in the nitty gritty of your business. They just want to give you money and then they want to see you thrive. Of course, there might be the arrangement for them to receive their dividends or their interest or whatever payments will go back to them in terms of the equity that they have. But angel investors are typically not involved in business. And finally, we have debt funding, which is a loan. I'm sure many of us are familiar with loans. Common grant applications. We have Orange Corners. Orange Corners is one of the highest paying grants in Nigeria. They can give up to even £40,000, £10,000, £20,000. So multiply pounds um with naira. It's a lot of money. Please, I can't see your comments right now. So if you have questions, just leave it to the end of the session. We have a very not so popular grant application, which is Grooming Endowment Trust. And I would like you, once we're done with this session, or while we're having the session, just write it out somewhere. So Grooming Endowment Session right now has their grant application open, and they give 10 million naira each to 5 businesses. So they have in a year, they have 2 sets of grants. So they have grants for people who are solo founders, which means you are the main founder, you don't have a co-founder. So if for solo founders, they have a smaller grant where they give 2 million naira each to 5 businesses. So they identify top 10 businesses and they have them in a boot camp for 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, they would pitch, and 5 businesses would get 2 million naira each. I think that's an amazing deal because most pitches they always concentrate on the first position and they leave it at that. And then if you are a co-founder, they give 10 million naira. If you have a co-founder or you have a team, maybe they share equity in your company, maybe likely you're in tech or even if it's any field whatsoever, even if it's agriculture. Can you hear me? Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we can
you.
hear you. Can hear you.
Okay.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
great. Thank you. So grooming endowment gives 10 million naira and the application is on right now for the 10 million naira grant. So if you have a team that's set up, you're building something that works, go and apply. Then we have Flourish Africa. Flourish Africa is also a grant. I think she gives about 3 million thereabout to women. Unfortunately, they are restricted to businesses located in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. We have African Business Heroes. They give much larger grants. We have Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Tony Elumelu Foundation, and of course we have the Ike-Elechi Foundation as well that has given grants this year, 500,000 naira to 5 businesses. So this is not exhaustive, but there are many more that you should look out for. So this is a quote that I think is so important. It says, "The future belongs to those who prepare for it," and it's by Malcolm X. So are you prepared for the future that you desire? Now, what are the benefits for grants? Grant is equity-free funding, which means that, if you raise money, if you raise $1 million, for example, the fintechs that everybody shouts about, they raise money. When they raise money in that manner, it comes with strings because it's people that are investing that money and they want return. Sometimes you have investors who want to now get into your business. They want you to change your business model just because they gave you money. So the benefit of grants is that nobody is going to do that. With equity-free funding, it's not free money per se, but it's control-free money, right? It gives you credibility. If you won the Tony Elumelu Foundation grant, you know how people use it as a badge of honor because of how prestigious it is. it gives you networking opportunities because you get access to business leaders. Some of these programs always link you up with coaches, with mentors, with successful business owners that you wouldn't have had access to. It also gives you media coverage. A friend of mine runs a Kilishi factory in Osun State, right? And that's so ironic because she's all the way in Osun, she's not in the north, right? But based off of the grants that she has accessed over the years, she posted recently that her business was showcased on Arise TV. It was showcased on channels. It was showcased on several TV stations because the Bank of Industry facilitated all that because they received support from the Bank of Industry, right? So being a winner of a grant, some grant organizers can actually arrange as an advantage for you to have PR. Some others will do publication. I remember a grant I won earlier this year, and when we finished at the dinner, that article announcing that we had been selected for that grant was published in over 10 newspapers, like all the top newspapers in this country. We were published with our name. So if you Googled one, like for me, I have a number of things on my front page on Google, but for some people, that's the first feature that they're getting that will get them to the first page that they were receivers of those grants. And then it gives you goodwill. So how to create a winning grant application? Winning grants is not accidental. And there are certain strategies that you can deploy to ensure that you are successful every time you submit an application. And we're going to go into that today. So this is my favorite part to begin. Usually someone will think when applying for a grant, start telling us what we should write. But the most important step is for you to start with why. Why did you start the business? Did you start the business because you were out of job? Did you start the business because you had experienced a bad situation, or you saw your friends in a bad situation, or you read about the statistics in the news? You need to be able to articulate, or you started the business because you needed money. It's fine if you started the business because you needed money. But first of all, you need to be able to clearly articulate why you started the business. Now, when you're able to articulate why you started the business, it would help how you position the business. Then the next question is, why do you need the grant? Are you just applying for the grant? Do you really need the grant? And then what drives you as an individual? This particular question is very important because people that give money to businesses a lot of times give money to the person running the business. So why should they give you? It's not about your business now, because there are many people who have the same business that you're running. The idea might not be unique to you, but there could be something about you that makes it a business worth investing in. So what drives you as an individual? What is an impact aspect of your business? Or is it all about the money? I'm sorry to disappoint you, but if you have positioned your business as only being about profit and only being about money, you would not reach any grant. And it doesn't matter if you are the next open AI. You need to tie impact to your business. So how does your business impact lives? And is your business in line with any of the 17 SDGs? You need to look through the 17 SDGs and need to know which SDG am I going to tie my business to. This is a book I will recommend for anyone. I read it years ago and I always recommend it for business owners. And it's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Find it, read it. So if you initially started your business because you needed the money, you need to be able to tie that business to a story. So let's say you don't have the problem that you're solving. You need to find somebody or create a persona of somebody that has the business. So let me use myself as an example. So my company is called Spring Sentia, and I started my business out of a personal struggle. was struggling. I've always had bad hair. When I was growing up, I would face various hair challenges. And I realized while in pharmacy school that, a lot of the products in the market were not really addressed for the African hair. And then there was also a scarcity of those products in the market. And that was where Spring Essential came in to fill in that gap, right? So if I was to teach my business, I already have an emotional case because people, when I go out and say, well, I had really bad hair, it affected my confidence, it affected me as a child, they're already feeling bad for me, right? And that just helps with the story. But you don't have to be the same. For somebody else, it could be that, you read the news and you saw the fact that out of the 11 million tons of tomatoes that is grown yearly, over 5 million, more than half of that amount is wasted due to poor processing percentage in the market. So you started your tomato brand to solve the problem of wastage in Nigeria, of tomato wastage in Nigeria. So you didn't need to create an emotional story, but you are addressing a particular need. For another person, it could be something else, but your business needs to have something bigger than just trying to make more money. That's just the summary of this page. The next thing is do your research. I don't know why this image is not showing. So do your research. Identify grants that are eligible for. Some areas that have a lot of grants right now are tech. So within tech, you have fintechs. Fintechs have a lot of opportunities. Agri-tech, if you're anything tech right now, if you're building and it has tech, if you are building and you can find a way to integrate tech, please do. Please find ways to integrate tech into what you're doing, right? So identify grants you're eligible for. You have climate grants. Climate has a lot of grants right now. You have agriculture. It has a lot of funding right now. You have tech. Has a lot of funding. There are a few other industries. So you need to look at your business and you need to see, okay, I'm sewing clothes. How can fashion also has a lot of funding as well and programs. So is it possible for me to make my clothes climate friendly? So that's why in Nigeria now you hear a lot of, and globally you hear a lot about slow fashion. So I know someone that she won a grant. Why did she win a grant? She said um she's making eco-friendly, safe, and slow fashion clothes. Essentially, what was she doing? She's making clothes with Adire and making clothes with Ashoke. But Ashoke, because of the amount of time it takes to make Ashoke and to make Adire, it is categorized as slow fashion. And for Adire, it's usually made with cotton. And cotton is biodegradable, which is highly sought after right now globally. So because she's sewing and making clothes that you wear, she was able to win a grant in that light. I know someone that won the Tony Elumelu grant last year. What is she making? Greek yogurt. Yogurt. But she made it bigger than just yogurt. She tied it to the fact that there are a lot of metabolic diseases everywhere, and that when she was pregnant, she saw a lot that people were doing in the gym, and so she realized that yogurt has a lot of healthy proteins and all of that, and so she's making yogurt. So she has now made it a health issue. Another person could look at it and say protein deficiencies in Nigeria is at an increasing high. So we created Victoria's yogurt, which is meant to solve the problem of protein deficiency in Nigeria. That is no longer a yogurt thing. It is now a health thing. It has also become an agriculture thing, which means that you might be able to even apply for some agricultural grants depending on how you structure it. So my business, for example, I tied it to climate. How did I tie it to climate? We have, each time we make products, we package them in plastic bottles. So I said, I reached out to a company that does recycling within the Southeast, and we set up a partnership with them. So we're saying that at my company, at Spring Essential, we are very conscious of the environment and we are working to be eco-friendly by partnering with a particular recycling company and ensuring responsible production and consumption. Do you understand? So that is what SDG. We are very intentional about SDG 12 or SDG 13. I can't remember the exact number, but that particular SDG is responsible consumption and production. And then the SDG that talks about climate change, right? We also tied it to it because we are using natural ingredients. So that's something you need to do. You need to find ways to tie your business to tech, tie your business to relevant fields. Even if your business is not in the original state, tie it, research, use ChatGPT, brainstorm, and come up with solutions. And then sign up to communities that regularly share grants opportunities. And I always recommend MSME Africa. MSME Africa, Google them. They have a website. From their website, you would find their WhatsApp communities. They have WhatsApp communities where all they do every morning, they send you the list of grants and opportunities available within Nigeria. And the chats are not usually spam. So that's where you can always subscribe, join their WhatsApp groups, and get access to those things. You also have opportunity for Africans. And then finally, follow successful entrepreneurs who have won grants on social media. You see that Grooming Trust? I think they have less than 500 followers, but they have given out more than 30 something million naira. They've done that grant for 10 million naira to 3 to 5 businesses for 3 years. They've done the other grants for 2 million naira to 5 businesses for 3 years, but they don't want ads for the application. Most organizations will not run ads, which means how they are is where they are, and they just do publicity, and whoever sees it gets it. So a lot of times, successful entrepreneurs who you see they have a track record of winning grants, go and check the pages that they are liking. Go to the pages that they are following. Go through any page that's looking like NGO, follow it, right? Go and check them out because a lot of times they follow those pages and they know about more opportunities than you do. Now, next step is know the requirements. Common requirements for grants, they want to see that you are registered with CAC, right? I always advocate for a limited liability company, but if you cannot do limited liability company, do business name. But seriously, please aim to do a limited liability company. Always ensure to have the official bank accounts, which most organizations will not give you a grant if you are sending them your personal bank account. And it doesn't matter whatever excuse you have. You should also be able to have financial statements or projections, which means that there are some organizations that will tell you, like Flourish Africa, they'll tell you to upload your bank statement for the past 3 months or 6 months. Some other banks, some other grants can tell you to share like your balance sheet or profit and loss statements. I remember applying for a grant like that last year. So depending on what please confirm if you can hear me.
Yeah, you went off for a while, but I can hear you now.
Okay. What point did you, because I didn't realize, I just saw that they had disconnected. Where did we
You were
stop?
talking about how the organization doesn't run ads or something. They just do publicity, and if you get to see it, you win the grant, something like that.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you so much. Please, my apologies for the network. I will be sharing my screen again. Okay, please confirm if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Can anyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, great. So I was talking about the requirements, and I said that ideally you should have been registered with TAC. I recommend limited liability, um, that's LL limited, right, instead of business name. But if you can't do business name, do limited. But that's my recommendation. You should always have an official bank account. And if possible, once you get the bank account, start receiving transactions in that bank account. There's a new tax law that will be passed, will begin effect from January. And if you're receiving transactions on your personal account, they will take it that that is your money. Even if your profit is 1 naira and you're receiving 100 naira, they'll take it that the 100 naira is your money and they will tax you on the whole money. So always try to have money paid into your official bank account. Some organizations would also request for financial projections. I remember when we won the Tony Elumelu Foundation, we were asked to present a 3-year financial plan, right? We also, for a different grant I applied for, we were required to provide profit and loss statements. Some other people ask you to even upload your bank statements. I've uploaded my bank statements to at least 2 applications before. And then down to the one that most of us might know, some of them, they can ask you to upload a business plan. They can ask you to do a pitch deck, right? So you need to understand what are the requirements so that you can be prepared for it. So now we're going to be looking at important aspects of your business plan. And these are the key aspects. It can be a lot more holistic, but I'm sure if you have these 6 covered, there shouldn't be any grant that you would not be able to win. Now we have market research, the problem and solution, your marketing strategy, your unique value proposition and competitive advantage, revenue model and distribution, and finally, your financial summary. So, but let me just touch on this first, right? In terms of your market research, you need to show that you really understand what you're talking about. So this means that, for example, when it comes to hair care, right? There are studies, I've read research papers and discovered that there are studies right now that have been done in 2 different places in Nigeria, stating that at least 1 out of every 2 Nigerian women are experiencing a form of hair loss. If you think about those numbers, it also already shows you how big the problem is, right? Within that sector already, I also know the biggest players within the haircare space. I know the biggest players within the relaxer section. I know the biggest players. So in terms of the market, I have a full grasp and understanding of how many billions it's worth, when it's supposed to do things, all those sectors. So as a business owner, as someone who is pitching, you need to be able to do your research. And don't tell me that you're the first person ever to do that business. It's not true. There might be people who are already doing the business, but maybe a slightly different model. So you need to be able to do your research. Google, find statistics. What that does for you is that it shows domain expertise. I remember a pitch I went for, and I was telling them where the paper was published. It was carried out at University of Lagos Teaching Hospital. So you need to be able to understand the market. How big is the mushroom market? I'm using Chiaka because I think I saw her on the call. How big is the mushroom market? Now, for something like mushrooms, let me use Chiaka's business. She grows oyster mushrooms. Now, why is mushroom becoming an important conversation in Nigeria? Because the cost of animal protein is getting so expensive. And so people need to be able to access affordable plant protein. And mushroom is an excellent source of protein. So if she's facing the problem, she could be talking about hunger. She's solving a hunger problem. She's solving an agricultural problem. So Chinaka should be able to speak to one, climate, she should be able to speak to agriculture, and also be able to speak to food. Why does she need to be able to speak to climate? Because she uses waste to grow her mushrooms. She uses sawdust, and so the things that the wood industry would dispose, that is what she uses to grow her her mushrooms. So you need to understand the market. Also, within that market research, you need to understand who are your competitors. What are the factors that are driving growth within that sector? Then down to the problem. What is the actual problem that you are trying to solve? If Chiaka is pitching with mushrooms, part of the problem she's going to trying to solve is a hunger problem and protein deficiency. And when children don't have access to proteins, it leads to poor development, it leads to kwashiorkor, if they are not able to become the full potentials of who they are meant to be, right? So how product comes as a solution for families, for low-income earners who are unable to access the regular protein. So they're able to use mushrooms to offset a bit, to supplement their diet. Also, your marketing strategy. How do you intend to reach your customers? Is it a blend of physical marketing? Do you go to trade fairs? Do you have a product stock in the supermarket? Do you use Instagram? Do you have a website? Do you do Google ads, Facebook ads, TikTok? What is your plan? Investors and donor organizations want to understand how you intend to go around these things. Then your unique value proposition. Mushrooms, she's not the first to grow mushrooms in Nigeria. So what makes hers, better? Why should they invest in her, not any other person? That's when now comes in the unique value proposition. The fact that you are also being eco-friendly. You are using waste, so you're helping to save the environment. What is your competitive advantage? Maybe your knowledge of how to grow the mushroom to get a very big yield, whatever that might be, right? What is your unique value proposition? You need to understand that. Your revenue model. Are you selling directly to customers? Are you selling to business owners? Are you deploying your app and getting a commission? Do you do a referral system? What is your strategy? What's your distribution? How do you get the product to your customers? That is your revenue model. And then your financial summary, which is like your profit and loss statement. Do you know how much is your percentage profit and all those things? We're already running short of time. So these are important aspects of the grant application you need to pay attention to. One is brand storytelling. It is very important for you to be able to communicate your why. So we had talked about your why earlier. So being able to tie your why to something that is bigger than just money is so important. So for me, I'm saying that I have experienced hair issues. And now I came to realize that one out of every Nigerian woman is having the same problem. And when women have issues with their hair and their skin, it affects their confidence. It affects how they show up in life. In addition to research that was recently published, the regular use of relaxers is tied to fibroids and which other cancer? There's another cancer that is tied to, right? Uterine cancer, I believe, right? So it means I'm solving a health issue. I'm solving a personality issue, because if people are shy, they're self-conscious, they will not be 100%. So you need to tie your why and clearly communicate it to a bigger reason than money. Your target audience, you need to know who exactly you're targeting. Don't tell me they're targeting the whole world. Don't tell me you're targeting 200 people. You need to be particular down to how they think. Where do they live? So I'll use Spring Central as an example. For Spring Central, we're targeting women aged from about 18 to 40 years old. They live in major cities across Nigeria. They are internet savvy, right? They understand self-care. They probably might even be doing skincare already. Some of them can be career professionals. Some of them could be stay-at-home moms. Some could even be university students, right? So our audience cuts across that. But we are also seeking to attract people who don't always want to spend a very long time in the bathroom doing their hair. So they want simple yet functional products. So this, you can see that from this, we already have an idea of who our target audience is. And finally, passion is so important. They need to be able to see that you actually like what you do. You believe in what you do. Sorry, I don't know why my pictures are not loading. Then the next thing will be your target audience. I've already mentioned that defining your target audience, creating different brand personas shows that you truly understand your audience. So I mentioned that for Spring Central, we have people who are career professionals working as a marketer in a tech company. We have someone who is a stay-at-home mom. We have somebody who is still in university. We have someone who is a content creator, right? So those are personas, which means we invent people who fit these various categories of customer base. Then define the timelines and metrics. Most of the time, donor organizations want to know what are your major milestones? What do you want to achieve in the next 6 months? If we give you this money, what do you plan to achieve in the next 1 year? This demonstrates visionary thinking. So if you're applying for a grant and you're asking to win $5,000 and they ask you, what will you use $5,000 to do? And you're like, oh, I use it and do marketing. You will use $5,000 and use marketing. It doesn't make any sense and they won't take you seriously. So you need to think about your operations. You need to think about your marketing. You need to think about different aspects of your business and break it down into practical goals that you can achieve. Then the next thing is, which is what I've already begun to mention, how do you plan to use the funds? What do you need? What would you buy? How much is allocated for marketing? No matter what you are doing, you must have budget for marketing. Don't tell me that you are using all your money to buy equipment and the equipment is 5 million and the 5 million you collect is for that. They will not give you because they believe that if you're using all that money to buy equipment and you don't invest towards marketing, you would likely just tie up capital and you won't make that much progress. So you need to be able to clearly articulate what you're using the money for. Know your numbers. What is your profit margin? Is someone speaking? Okay, I'll just go ahead. What is your profit margin? What is the cost of your production? Factor in salaries. Factor in rent. Even if you are staying in a place and the place is free, just add money to your cost. So that, because if they ask you what's the rent, say I don't pay rent because I'm working from my house, they'll take you that you're not a serious person. So when you're factoring in your pricing, factor it in as if, no, even if you don't have too many staff, your basic cost, electricity, internet, transportation, add all those things. You should also have a documented system where you enter your expenses, your income over a period of time. And then who are the people on your team? So even if you're a solo founder, are there people that you work with from time to time? Do you have a graphic designer that works with you? Do you have somebody that helps you with your social media? Those people can also form your team. Don't worry, say that, oh, I'm a one-man squad. They will not give you big money. Oh. Nobody will really give you money if you're just saying you're just there. You should be able to demonstrate that you're a visionary person and you're willing to share that with other people. So what is also your relevant expertise for that business idea? If you are a baker and you suddenly went into tech to create an app, how do they know that you know what you're doing? So that can be a course you've done. That can be maybe a background, some work experience that you have. That can also be a teammate that you have that is providing the expertise that you need to develop that product. So you don't have to have everything together. But as a team, you people should have what you need to grow that business. And then impact. How does your business impact the environment and your community? I've already talked about the SDGs. So with Spring Sentia, we're helping to shift the narrative around African hair because many people have the ideology that African hair is strong, is complicated, is problematic. So we are providing products and solutions that will help women and men to care for their hair and achieve their healthy hair goals, which will make them confident and show up better in society. And also, we are helping to keep the environment clean, because we are collaborating and ensuring that our products are, recycled appropriately. What are red flags in grant application? Requesting for money to buy form. I don't care how reputable the organization is, whoever it is, anybody that asks you to pay any kobo, even if it's 15 naira, their reason might be, oh, to know whether I committed. I would raise major question marks. Personally, I would not apply. And I do advise people to apply. You shouldn't pay money to give a grant. Somebody who wants to give should give fully. Then another thing will be asking for ownership of company shares. This is a personal experience for me. The very first grant I won, after I won the grant, it was for 100,000, right? They told me that, before I should give the grant, that they're going to help me to build my business. They'll help me to do my graphic design because then I didn't have graphic design. and they work with me to drive my sales. So because of that, they were not being straightforward, but I eventually discovered that they were asking for shares. And I came first. The person that came second ended up signing off 50 something percent of her shares for 100,000 naira grant. Back then, it was a lot of money. It was like 2016. That was the very first grant I won. But me, I wasn't okay with it because I was still a student and I didn't have the time. Eventually, some of the people that won the grant returned the money because the problem was too much. There was so much pressure for 50,000 naira, for 30,000 naira grant at that time. So don't, if there is any funny movement, leave them. Don't engage in such applications. If there are unclear directions, which means the application is not straightforward, you can't really articulate it, or the organization that is doing it seems a bit shady, be very cautious about that. Okay, this is on setting up your business. So these are a few things that you should know, which is determine the type of business that you're doing, do your CAC registration, open your bank account, create a leadership structure, even if it's only you, create a structure. So that if you need to hire, you would even know the next person you need to hire. Do your documentation and find out industry relevant registration. So for my company, we have NAFDAC, we have SON. Those are the major registrations that we need to do. Okay, this is the scaling your business. And so key things to consider, we have structure, ensuring product market fit, standardizing your processes. For a baker like Uche, where you will be around ensuring that your recipes are documented to the T. You know the exact temperature, you know the exact amount. It's no more guesswork. It's no longer even cups. It's now grams. You're being 100% precise so that if you're a cook, your recipe can be replicated even by somebody that doesn't know how to cook because of how clear your instructions are. We have government regulations, and then we have necessary funding and leveraging technology. It's very important for you to understand the stage of your business and access opportunities relevant to that stage. This is a very, very important factor that many people don't put into cognizance. Now, these days, many donor organizations give grants to only businesses registered within the first 3 years of operation, which means that if you set up a business and you registered your company as a limited liability company or even business name, the donor organization starts to count. They don't want to give business grants a lot of times to businesses that are 5 years in business. They want to give to businesses that are still new. So you need to, during your initial time, you need to take advantage of the opportunities that are available to you because there will be a time you would not be eligible for the grant. There were some people who applied for the Southeast Business Growth grant, and although they had great ideas, because their businesses was longer than 3 years, which was what was initially directed based off of the kind of grants we were giving, they were not considered. So this is a reality for many grants that are out there, except organizations like the Tony Elumelu, they give across board, right? But there are few organizations that give to just startups. So few organizations, they don't want to give you for you to start. They want you to have started and then they support you. So if you are thinking or looking for grant before you start the business, you might be in trouble. So find the smallest version of your business to start with and start it. And once you register your business, take advantage of that duration. You have 3 active years from the time you get your registration to get as many opportunities as possible. Finally, grants, seeking for grant funding can be exhausting. It can be very exhausting. So a lot of grants, even when you get selected, you will go through mentorship, you will go through classes, and sometimes you find out that you might even need to travel to Lagos. The bigger grants, most of the time you have to travel to Lagos. I remember in March this year, I applied for a grant. They called me on Tuesday and told me I have to be in Lagos by Friday. That if I'm not in Lagos by Friday, they will not give me that money. And I had to find my way. Another opportunity, I was called on Tuesday and they told me I have to be in Lagos I have to be seated in the office by Monday. It didn't matter whatever I'm doing. And that's their own way of screening. So as a business owner, you need to be able to understand times and seasons. If you are still starting, right? And you don't have a very large team. You need to structure your business accordingly and know how to navigate things or maybe get help. So there is no when you go for three different boot camps in 3 months, you've been away from your business because you're seeking for grant, that even the sales and the customers you had, you will lose everything because you're applying for grant. You need to be able to strike a balance. You need to weigh your options and optimize yourself, because many donor organizations want to also see the traction that you have. So it means you need to be selling, but you need to be applying. So it's going to take time, but good things take time and take energy. So thank you so much, and I'll be happy to take questions.
Thank you so much for such an insightful, power-packed, electrifying session. Right. Thank you so much. It was a lot of knowledge delivered expertly and in simple terms. Right. So everybody can share appreciation for her with a favorite emoji. Drop what you have learned in the comment section. What stood out for you in her presentation? Let us have it in the comment section. And if you have questions, you can either put up your hand and unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can drop it in the chat box. Yeah, so you can drop your reviews, your comments, your questions in the chat box. Thank you very much. We are waiting to hear from you. Okay, so Esther Obonna said, please, ma, I didn't get you. You recommended dash instead of business name. I didn't get the spelling of it.
Okay, I said I recommend, instead of you doing business name, personally I recommend limited liability company. It's slightly more expensive, but I think business name is about 20,000, but limited liability company is about 50,000. Although I'm not sure if they've infected the raise in the prices right now, but that is the current price. So that's why I recommend it.
Okay,
Gideon, I
thank you
see.
very much for that clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone else has a question. If you need clarity on something, you can drop it in the chat box. You can ask a question, something related to what you said today. Or if you just have any question about your business, kindly drop it in the chat box and she'll be more than glad to help you out with it, to give you clarity on it. Okay, Gideon Fidelis, you can speak.
Okay, I think she's out. Is she still there?
Yeah, she's here. She's here.
I can hear you,
Okay,
Gideon. Please
good.
go ahead.
All right, yeah, good evening. Well done. Thank you for your presentation. So my question is this. I know some certain persons might be confused in the, applying for grants, because now that you have actually communicated that grant is the way to go for especially businesses that are just starting up. It's an opportunity for them to key into. So now I believe most people would feel that, going for grants is just any type of grant they would just want to apply for. So are there any guidelines that people are supposed to look out for in terms of industry or, specifics? Thank you.
Okay. It cracked up a bit, but I just want to clarify. Gideon, you're saying that are there particular grants that business owners should look out for, or is there a metrics that they should look out for when applying for grants? Can you confirm if that is what you're asking? Gideon, are you there? Can anyone hear me, please?
I
Yes,
can hear
I can
you.
hear you.
Okay. So I will just go ahead to answer the question, but if Gideon can type the question again, that would be great. So what I would say is that when it comes to grants, right, you have the big grants, you have the very structured grants, like the Tony and you have those grants that before you will fill the application, it's a whole process. But you also have some very random grants that could pop up. Just somebody decided to give a grant. Somebody just decided, oh, it's my birthday, I want to support business owners. Those good, they are very random grants that come up. I remember there was a time, the wife of the Ekiti state governor, this is quite some years ago, I was randomly browsing online and I just stumbled on a post. I think it was the wife of a state governor. I don't know anybody in Ekiti. I've never been to Ekiti. And she said, oh, they are giving grants. Do a one
Yes,
page.
I was asking
Um,
if people are meant
okay, please go ahead.
to look out.
Your network is still
Yes, I can
cracking,
hear you. Can you hear me?
but I think I get a sense of your question. It's cracking up. You are saying, are there metrics that people should look out for in grant applications? Is that it? Victoria, please ask him to type it in the comments. I really can't make out what he's saying. But
Okay.
what I would say is, I just give a guide on things that if you see for an application, you should be wary of. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of grant applications that they tell you that you should tag your whole family. Is the highest likes that win. A lot of times it can turn into a popularity contest. And if you're the type of person that is not very popular, you might not see results. But the thing is that there are key periods within the year, particularly if you're on this call and you're a lady. There are key periods within the year that you must be ready. You see that International Women's Month, March, there are so many applications that come up, so many random ones. I remember this year, I randomly came across an investment firm that they were giving 500,000 naira. They didn't really advertise, they just put it, maybe it's their own CSR. And they ended up giving that to like 20 businesses. And they just said, fill one very simple form. And that was, and people were selected. There are times in the year that you can just come across a grant. So far, it does not require you to, one, pay money for it. If it is a popularity contest, you might be a bit wary of it. Personally, I'm not a fan, but they are still very legitimate ones, right? If you are up to that, you can do that. But just be very careful if they're not asking for maybe information on your business, they're not asking you to do things for them, right? They're not asking you to give you their company shares because they're giving you money. Once you check the red marks and you see that it's not something that is going to place you at any form of risk, you can throw the hat in the game. There are some people that use these grant applications as a way to grow their page. That's why they run it as an ad and say, oh, like the page, we'll select the most credible answer. A lot of times, I'm not too sure about the transparency of those kind of applications. So those are the general guides I would give. Be sure about it. If there's any funny behavior, just look at it at arm's length. But there are a lot of opportunities. Sometimes they don't advertise, they just post it and leave it there. So during key periods at the beginning of the year, during International Women's Month, sometimes just go and search on Instagram, grants, Nigerian female, just put certain keywords. You'll be surprised at the opportunities that you have. Thank you. Victoria, are you there? Does anyone have any other question before we wrap this up? Hello. Does anyone have any other question?
Okay, I don't think there's no other question.